Hello, I'm Daniel. I'm going to give a talk from the 37 Practices of a Bodhisattva today, which I've been doing for a while. This is about how we can really unleash our full potential. That's what it's about, really. And how we can live in a more mindful, aware, compassionate, and wise way and make better choices. That's what this is about. And this verse I'm going to talk about today is called Cultivating the Exchange of Oneself for Others. Cultivating the exchange of oneself for others. And this one might actually, I wonder if this one's going to be a bit of a hard sell, a bit of a hard thing to wrap our heads around, a hard thing to really, it's something we can talk about, but it's a challenging thing to really do. And so I'll explain. So I'm going to read the verse, and then I'm going to talk about it and see where it takes us. All suffering, without exception, springs from the desire for one's own happiness. Perfect enlightenment is born from a mind intent on benefiting others. Therefore, it is the practice of bodhisattvas to authentically exchange one's happiness for the sufferings of others. And there's different levels to this. There's a meditation practice called Tonglen, and a lot of people think this is an instruction that we should practice Tonglen practice, and I do understand that. And Tonglen is a visualization practice where we visualize taking in the suffering of others as a kind of smoke, and then breathing out a kind of clear light. I'm not that into that. To be completely honest with you, I'm not that into that. Visualization meditation, it doesn't really work for me. I think I have this condition that you hear about sometimes where I can't really picture things in my mind. Not really. So visualization meditation doesn't work for me. A lot of people love it though, but to me it doesn't work very well. But that's just one level to this, and that's the level people like to focus on when they talk about this. But I'm going to focus on the other level, which is this. The point of this: suffering springs from desire for one's own happiness. Perfect enlightenment is born from a mind intent on benefiting others. The point of this is care about other people more than you care about yourself. Care about other people more than you care about yourself. And that is a very easy thing to say, right? Care about other people as much as you care about yourself is an easy thing to say, but it's a very hard thing to actualize. But I want to think about that, right? Why would we care about other people more than we care about ourselves? I think I don't know where I heard this, but I've heard relationship advice where the advice was, if you put your partner's happiness ahead of your own, you're going to have a happier relationship. That said, though, that doesn't mean let your partner take advantage of you all the time. The hope is that they're putting your happiness above theirs too. And if both people are doing that, that is a really good relationship. That is a really good relationship. I don't know. I would never give relationship advice myself. I can't vouch for the veracity of that, but I've heard that before. And this sort of makes me think of that. We can just think about our own happiness and our own pleasure all the time, but that doesn't take us very far in life. It doesn't really make us happy. Not really. The Buddha, I'll tell you about the Buddha, the founder of Buddhism. He was a very privileged person. He grew up incredibly wealthy, and his father was like a noble ruling class person. And the Buddha, his name wasn't the Buddha's a title, but his name was Siddhartha Gautama. But he grew up just in this incredible luxury and just having all the things, having everything he could possibly want. He had the best food, the best clothes, concubines, everything, anything you could think of that you selfishly want in that period, he had. So he didn't have, video games and TV and stuff, but because that didn't exist 2,600 years ago, but he had everything at the time that anyone could wish for, everything. And he realized he wasn't happy. He realized he wasn't happy. And I think a lot of people get really wealthy and powerful and realize they're not happy too. And the point is that he was not happy because he was not, he was sheltered. He didn't really see the suffering of other people, so he didn't care about it. He didn't have really room for compassion in his life because he didn't see anyone struggling. And so I sort of think about that. I think there is this concept that I want to reflect on now, and it's called sympathetic joy. Sympathetic joy. It's one of what is called the four immeasurables in Buddhism, which is a very wonderful teaching that I like a lot. And sympathetic joy is maybe the hardest one to wrap our heads around, and it is taking joy in the success of others. Not as in, oh, I'm happy for you, but really, for real, taking joy in it. And a lot of us have that for our kids, for our partners, for our very close friends. And what we're talking about here is having sympathetic joy for all the people around you. And it's just that. It is when your kid does really well on a test and you're very happy and they're very happy. And you're as though it's your own success. It feels like your own success, right? That's the kind of joy we're talking about here. It's when someone else succeeds and you don't, and you're just incredibly happy. And your kids is a really soft, easy answer to that because your kids came from you, right? But if we think about like your best friend or your partner or your parents or whatever, right? We have that kind of joy. It's not expanded. It's just to a select group of people. And what I want to suggest is we can expand our sympathetic joy. We can bring others into our circle of joy, and we can make it bigger and bigger and bigger. And so what we experience a lot of times in life is someone else. The example I'm going to use is a coworker. If a coworker gets a promotion, gets a raise, has a big success, and there's someone we like we can be happy for them, but at the same time have an undercurrent of jealousy, right? An undercurrent of jealousy. And if we're having the powerful kind of sympathetic joy I'm talking about, we don't have that undercurrent of jealousy. We are just happy for their success. We don't think, when someone else succeeds, we don't think, what about me? Where's mine? I'm happy for you, but I'd rather be happy for me, right? We don't think that way. We just think, oh, that's great. That's great. So coworker gets a promotion. You say, that's awesome. Good job. Rather than thinking, when's going to be my promotion? When's going to be mine? That's not very good wording. When's going to be mine? But that's what I'm talking about. We have that undercurrent of jealousy, even if we don't talk about it, even though we don't think, oh, I'm feeling jealous right now. We usually don't think that way, and we usually just feel jealous. But the kind of joy we're talking about is a real, powerful joy that supersedes that kind of jealousy. It is just really being happy for other people. And why would we want to cultivate that? That's what I'm going to talk about now, because I think that we sort of tend to think, well, no, I have to be chasing things for myself because that's good for my success. That's good for my life to be chasing things all the time, to be eagerly selfish. It's good for me because it makes me chase the things I want, and that makes me succeed. It's like that movie Wall Street where Michael Douglas says greed is good. Greed is good because it motivates and inspires. I don't think greed is good. He's the bad guy in that movie, but people took him to be a role model. They really did that wrong. But greed is not good. And having joy for others is good. Why? Why? Because if I can bring as many people as possible into my circle of joy, if I can really, truly celebrate their success and be happy for them for real without an undercurrent of jealousy or bitterness or anything like that, then what does that mean? It means I'm happy. It means my potential to have joy in life is greatly increased, right? If I'm as happy about my neighbor's success as I am about my own, then I just love everything all the time, right? I just have a sense of well-being that you can't even imagine, right? So it's through that sort of making things broader that we find a sense of happiness and well-being, just from making that circle bigger, just saying your success is my success, and taking joy in the success of others. So maybe I've sold it to you. Maybe you think, well, it's good. That is good. You're right. We should take joy in the success of others. We should just be happy when our neighbor succeeds, just as happy as though we had succeeded. But how do we do that? How do we do that? Because that's an easy thing to talk about, but maybe it's not that easy to do. Maybe we think, well, yeah, but I can't, right? It's like, and I won't reference this often, but it's when in the Bible, Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself. That's my favorite line in the Bible. Love your neighbor as yourself. It's such a simple sentence, but man, is that hard to do. But the point is, if you love your neighbor as yourself, you're not a dick to your neighbor. You're not looking for excuses to be mean to them or take from them. You're not judging them harshly, no, because a lot of the time we are complicated. I think sometimes we judge ourselves very harshly and other times we judge ourselves very gently. But so maybe that's not that good of an example. But if you love your neighbor as yourself, then you're nice to them and you're thinking about their wants and needs and you're trying to help them and you're happy when they're happy. If you love your neighbor as yourself, if you're really living up to that or really trying to, then it's hard to be mean. It's hard to be mean. It's hard to hate them. It's hard to judge them because you're loving them as yourself. You can't do any of these negative things to them if you're loving them as yourself, right? So that's why I like that teaching. The teaching is not be nice to your neighbor. The teaching is not what would Jesus do. The teaching is not, it's not even have a kind heart. It is love them. Love them, really love them. And so I think this sympathetic joy relates to that. It's really, really take joy in them. So how do we do that? That's the question. How do we do that? And the way I think we do that is we spend some time reflecting. It's my answer to everything. We spend some time reflecting and maybe set aside some time in our meditation practice and just think. Just do an affirmation. You do it in your head. Something I really like is called metta meditation, and that is where we sit and we bring someone to mind. We think about someone we love. We think about our kids, say, and you think to yourself these words. You think to yourself, may you be well, may you be happy. And you just say that to yourself. And just sit thinking about the person you're thinking about, or the partner, or your kids, or whoever, and you just think about them being happy. And then you do that for a little while, and then you bring to mind someone who you know, but who doesn't mean anything to you, someone who is neutral. And you bring them to mind, and then you think those same words. You think, may you be well, may you be happy. And you just think about them being happy for a few minutes. And then we move on to someone we don't like. And that's where it's a little bit harder, but we do it again. We recite the words, may you be well, may you be happy. And we just picture them being happy for a few minutes. And so you might be thinking, well, what does that do? But I think affirmations do something. I think that to just telling yourself these things softens your heart. And when your heart is softened, then you view these people you love, people you're neutral toward, and people you really don't like or even hate, you view them in a loving way. And when you do that, your heart is open and your joy will start to grow and you can start to be happy for their success. And another thing to do is just, if we're doing our diligent meditation practice, the hope is that we learn to develop a space between thought and reaction. And then when someone succeeds and you start to feel some jealousy or bitterness, you notice that and you just ask yourself, is this negative feeling necessary and is it serving me? That's not to say that just asking ourselves makes it go away, but being aware of it is powerful and important. Being aware of it is powerful and important because in life we are on autopilot almost all the time, and not being on autopilot, just paying attention to what's happening in our thoughts and feelings is in itself very powerful, very important, and transforms us. So I think about that too. So today, I just want you to think about, try to do that metta practice. Just bring to mind someone you love and say to yourself, may you be well, may you be happy. And then bring to mind someone you're neutral toward and just say mentally, may you be well, may you be happy. And then bring to mind someone you don't like and say, may you be well, may you be happy. And if you're someone that struggles with a lot of self-hatred, some people do, some people really hate themselves. And if you're someone that has that struggle, do it for yourself too. Bring yourself to mind and just think about yourself being happy and just say, may you be well, may you be happy. This is how we transform ourselves. And that practice is called metta. Metta, and it means loving kindness, or sometimes it's translated as loving friendliness, which I don't like loving kindness or loving friendliness, so I do just say metta because I don't like either of those, but M-E-T-T-A. But it is just trying to bring someone into your heart. And it's through that we can widen our circle of joy. And if we can widen our circle of joy, then our well-being and happiness can be boundless. Boundless. And with that level of compassion, we're really making our relationships better. We're really making our little environment better. So it's so helpful. So thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Have a good day.